Hey game designers, in this video I'm just going to teach you guys how to make a bridge. So from the last video you guys should have made terrain where you guys have at least some type of stream or river, and I'm going to model this bridge right here you see in the background. Um, so hopefully I can show you this relatively quickly. Now, it does not mean that you guys have to make this exact bridge, but I do want to see some technique that I use in this video on your own bridge. Okay, so it's again, I'm not caring about the actual quality of the work in terms of the detail because obviously a lot of you guys are running into performance issues, but at the same time I want to see that you're using some of the techniques that I cover in this video that are both in Maya and in Vectory. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this and kind of start all over again. Okay, I'm actually going to even delete the picture reference and just teach you guys how to do that in case you want to model a certain bridge that you like or you see online. So again, um, we're going to go to ahead and go to import, and it's going to import the bridge that you used. So I just downloaded one to my desktop here. I'm going to click on open. Okay, and it starts out like this. I'm going to go ahead and start rotating this thing so I can kind of put it in the background. So you can see here that this should be 90 degrees. Okay, then I'm going to rotate it this way. So that's 90 degrees. It's a little bit underneath the ground here. I'm going to kind of put it back. And I'm going to put my bridge from here to here. So I'm just going to kind of leave my bridge kind of in the background here. Okay, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so looking at this bridge, I kind of have to plan what I want to do. I see this bridge is basically two cylinders, right? One over here, and a bridge that pretty much is a box with some holes cut out, and that's how I think of it. And the same thing here. I see a cylinder. I can see right here that they probably uh, you know moved it in a little bit to create that look, tapered in a little bit, and then right here has a little. I can put a little extrusion and do that. So I kind of, when you're modeling, you always gotta have a plan about what's basic primitives you're gonna use. So I'm gonna use a cylinder here, a box here, a cylinder here, and I'm gonna cut out some holes and maybe make a box to make this doorway. Okay, so that's my plan. So I'm gonna go to build tool here and just go and build a primitive. I'm not sure you're gonna undo that. I'm gonna build the cylinder first. Okay, and I'm gonna move my cylinder over here where I want it. I'm gonna shrink it down a lot here. And I can always hit A to frame it. Okay, so I'm gonna shrink it down even more. It looks like it's gonna a little bit proportionality. It looks like a little bit taller. Um, kind of using my background here. I'm gonna move my background a little bit down so I can see it a little bit better. Maybe I can scale it down a little bit. There we go, something like that, so I can see it. Okay. Anyway, back to my cylinder. So I'm hitting A to get back to my cylinder, and I'm looking at this. And I'm going, okay, it looks like roughly the right shape. Okay. So before we convert it to geometry, just make sure you have the right number of height segments. So when I click on the height segments here, I have none at all. So I'm just going to go 6 in case I need it later on. Radius segments, how many segments you have on top. Again, I like multiples of 6. So I'm going to go 12 here. And the height and radius don't matter that much because ultimately we're going to clean up the transformation, reset it all anyway. So let's kind of start here. So I want to kind of move into the middle of the road here. And the first thing I'm going to worry about is maybe the way this looks and the way this looks. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go ahead and convert geometry. And now I can go ahead and edit. So I can go in there and edit it. So it looks like right about here, it starts to taper in. Okay. So basically what I want is an extrusion because I want to create new faces that's thinner. So basically I want the top two rows to be smaller than the last two rows. So I'm going to kind of snap my tool. I use Alt and then snaps my tool to this plane. I'm going to go ahead and click on the face select tool. And under here, you can use the marquee tool to kind of select multiple faces. Okay. And I selected all these faces. Now I'm going to kind of use Alt and left click to kind of look at the angle again. I go, okay, I got all the faces I want. Now, if I just move it or scale it, right, it's going to taper in like that. And that's not exactly what I want because I want to actually create new faces to kind of go inward. So again, to extrude, you have to hold shift. So I'm going to hold shift and extrude. And now it creates those faces and it kind of um, gives me that little tapered look that that thing has over there. Okay. Now I kind of have to make that little rim on the very top of this thing. So I just want to select the top faces here. So again, I'm going to use the marquee tool and see if I can just click on the top faces. Now it might not, it might select some faces in the back like this. Okay. So you can go ahead and just hold shift and it'll unclick those. And I'm just going to hold shift and hold shift. And now I got all these clicked. And now I'm going to do a extrusion uh, upward and outward. So let's go ahead and hold shift and extrude out just a little bit. Okay, out just a little bit. And then up, move it up a little bit. And let's see if I get that little rim on the top. And actually, I probably want it to look like uh, let this ring be extended as well. Okay, so it doesn't actually create like a little diagonal top like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and go back to edge mode here and double click this edge. Remember, if you double click the edge, you got to click on loop select and then hit enter twice to select the edge loop. And I'm going to go ahead and expand the edge loop. I take that back. I'm going to hold shift and extend the edge loop. Maybe not. I'm going to hold shift and extend that. Nope. Let's see. Actually, I think I want an extrusion. Okay, I take that back. So I'm gonna go back to this top one right here. I'm gonna double click, select this edge loop, and I'm just gonna move it down. Uh, enter twice to select the edge loop, and kind of push it back down again. Because like I said, we want to create kind of a little bit of a uh, bevel, I guess you can call it, or a little circle or ring around there. So I'm just go back and click on the face tool again, use the marquee tool, and it looks like I'm gonna snap this tool, make it easier for myself. Select all these faces on top again. Go to M for marquee tool if you're starting to understand the hotkeys. So I'm just gonna select these right here. I'm gonna extrude, hold shift, because I do want to create new faces, and just in the top direction here. Hold shift. There we go. Okay. And somehow this vertex looks like a little bit too far up, so let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm just go ahead and right click or edge select this edge right here. And go ahead and expand it out. Something like that. I don't know. Let's go look at the original and see if that's the way it looks. Um, so you got to go to object mode. Again, the references don't work exactly the way you want. It looks like a little ring on the outside. Um, I guess I can pull this ring up and that makes it do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to edit geometry. I'm gonna double click on this edge loop again, hit enter twice, and just move it up a little bit. There we go. So now I got that little edge on the top of that bridge. Okay, so that gives kind of like the basic shape of the cylinders. Now I'm going to worry about this kind of like entryway into the bridge. So what we're going to do is just going to create, we're going to use subtraction. We're going to create a little box and we're going to subtract. So I'm going to go to my primitives here. I'm going to create a little box and go ahead and shrink it down to something like the size I'm looking for here. I'm going to move it way over here and way over here. And let's go ahead and start shrinking this thing down to something that's reasonable here. Okay. Now I'm going to use the camera again to kind of snap it so I can move it just where I want it. So you can see that this box is nearly not this big. So I'm going to kind of shrink it down even more. Try to get it to be centered as best that I can. Something like that. Okay, now kind of go to the side view. And I'm going to cut a hole. I need to cut a bigger hole. So I'm going to go ahead and enlarge it this way. Okay, something like that. And this is actually going to be part of the bridge. So I want to have a little entryway here. So maybe just a little bit less, something like that. And again, you want to have enough segments so that you can change anything that you might want to change. I'm going to change it up to, let's say, 6 segments here. Okay. So it looks like I got it right about centered here. And all I have to do to kind of create that little bevel is just move this edge down, and that will kind of create the look that I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and convert to geometry. Okay, and then now I can go ahead and go to edit mode, and I can select this edge. So I'm going to hopefully be able to select the edge, hit enter twice, and it looks like it doesn't select all the edges. It looks like it selects only 4 of it. You can kind of see here, I have 4 selected. Just hold shift, click on this edge, click on this edge, and if you did it correctly, your gizmo should be in the middle of that edge. And all I'm going to do is just move it down. And actually, I'm going to control Z that. I'm going to select on the other edge too. So I'm going to hold shift, hold shift, hold shift, hold shift, hold shift, hold shift, and go ahead and uh, taper this down a little bit, and voila, we have kind of like that little top of the entryway done. Let's go back to object mode here. So it sort of looks like that. Maybe I can put the top a little bit higher, and that will make it look even more of a steep, um, but not necessary. Let's go ahead and do it. Why not? So let's go back to edit mode, and I'm just going to select all the edges on top. So I'm going to use the edge right here, use the marquee tool, which is just M. Select all the edges on top here and kind of rotate my mouse and make sure I have all the edges selected and just move it up a little bit. Okay, so go back to object mode, see if that's what I have the slope that I want. Looks good. Maybe I'm a little bit too far out. So maybe I can just go ahead and click on the scale tool and scale it in just a little bit more, and looks good now. Looks proportional to it. And again, I'm not looking for absolute detail here. I'm just kind of showing you some tools and methods and skills that you could use to make it kind of exactly the way that you want in your mind. Okay, so the next thing we're worried about is this hole. This hole, it's basically a half circle, basically a cylinder. If I use a cylinder to cut it, I can basically create this hole. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and create a cylinder. And the cylinder, okay, it's over there. I'm going to rotate it so it's kind of sideways the way that I want it. You can go here and make it exactly 90 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and move it where I want it, somewhere over there. I'm going to obviously scale it way down, something like that. And move it over here somewhere. Um, elongate it. Uh, so again, I'm going to use the camera view and kind of snap it and then, deal with this in 2 ways. So here I got it kind of centered the way I want it. And make sure that there it goes. So make sure your camera snaps so I can kind of move it here. I'm going to scale it down. Let's go ahead and scale it down like that. Okay. And it looks like I need to scale it down, look a little bit more ovalish, or just scale it down altogether and move it just a little bit up because I can use kind of like the hexagon look of it to kind of get where I want. So I'm going to kind of move it down a little bit here, center it a little bit more. And looks like I can shrink it down just a tad bit more here. Okay, so I want to get it centered. You can see right here in the silhouette of this thing right here. And a little bit more to the left. And a little bit more to the right. Okay, and then now I'm going to go ahead and elongate it just a little bit. So I kind of get a little bit more than that half circle because it's like the entryway is a little bit more like that. And there you have it. Let's go ahead and kind of go to the other side now. Oop, and you can see just by using my side view that I'm not even close to long enough. So I'm going to go ahead and elongate it this way. Okay. Because again, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use this to cut a hole. So I'm going to go over here and cut a hole. Okay. So cutting a hole is just like we did inside of Unity and inside of Maya. And it's called basically Boolean. Boolean means are they going to be put together or taken apart? And this is how Vectory does it. Vectory does not care about what order you click it. Vectory cares what's on top and what's on bottom of the object list. Okay. So if I want to cut a hole, um, using this cylinder into the box here, I need to put the box on top. So I'm going to put the box on top, or I'll put the cylinder down. Okay, so now the box is on top and the cylinder is on bottom. So I'm going to click on this one, and then I'm going to shift click this one. I'm going to go to under generate, Boolean subtract, and boom. I cut a hole through my little tunnel, but I didn't cut the hole through the cylinder. So again, I'm going to put the cylinder on top, and I'm going to click this and shift click this cylinder, or control click. I'm sorry, yeah, control click. Click this one and then control click the cylinder again. And I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to cut the hole through the square and cut the hole through, or the box and through the cylinder. And voila, you now have an entryway into your bridge. Okay, so I think that pretty much, oops, I think I created a duplicate. Yeah, I did. Sometimes I accidentally held Alt and Alt creates a duplicate, and I was actually about to do that anyway. So if you hit Control D, that creates a duplicate, and I was going to move a, oops, take that back. I did make a duplicate. So before we go ahead and create a duplicate of this, let's go ahead and combine these. So basically I have this box right here, and I have this cylinder on top. I'm going to take these two objects, and I'm going to go ahead and Boolean union it. And union means combine them together, and now they're one solid object. So this is one whole bridge. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a duplicate of it. Control D, and I create another duplicate of it, and I'm going to go ahead and move it over here. Or actually, before I duplicate it, let's go ahead and clean up all this thing. So once you are really finished with what you wanted to create, which is these two, my boolean and what happened to my box? Did I accidentally delete it? Oh, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. What did I do? Oh, there it is. Okay, somehow I screwed this up. Okay, so let's go and go back here. I think I made a mistake real quick. So Control Z is helpful in this case. So I click on this, and it subtracts a hole. And then I clicked on this in the cylinder. So go here, and let's see if I did Boolean subtract here and something happened. No, this is correct. So I have this entryway. So I have two subtractions that I'm going to combine. I'm going to click on this and control click on this and use Boolean union. And it should create one whole thing here. And now that I'm pretty happy with the geometry, I should just go ahead and convert it to geometry. So basically, once you convert it to geometry, it gets rid of all the things that you made. It's kind of like clearing history in essence of how it was made. So there we go. Now I have this thing, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it and just move the other one over here. Again, use A to center your camera. And I'm going to move it to the other side of the bridge. And now I'm going to kind of make these arcs. And I'm going to kind of go real quicker now and faster because um, I don't want to make this video too long here, again, because you don't have to do exact. I'm going to go ahead and create a box. And I'm going to go ahead and shrink this box down. Go ahead and move this box over here. I'm going to snap my view to kind of get what I want here. Kind of see where I got this. Center it down. And it looks like the top of the rim is somewhere up here. So then I kind of got it where I want there. And I'm going to go ahead and move it just a little bit. Okay, sometimes you might have your snap tools. Make sure you turn off snap to grid if you're not getting the precision you want. So I got to cut the rectangle here, but I got to kind of roll this way and see how far I'm off this view. So there we go. I'm going to snap it here. And I'm gonna kind of go, okay, that's too big. And I need to shrink the size a little bit, move it where I want it. I think I'm shrink it even more. I think it's not really that much of that looks better. Okay, something like that. Okay, so we have this bridge now, and the bridge has these three arcs. So we're gonna do the same thing we did before, create a cylinder. So I'm gonna create another cylinder to kind of cut the hole. And I got this huge cylinder over here. I'm gonna start rotating it down. So this looks like I'm going to 90 degrees. And I'm gonna go ahead and snap it and go ahead and move it where I want it. I'm gonna scale it down very much smaller. Go ahead and move it where I want it. And let's go ahead and scale this down. Okay, I want to scale it way thinner. Something like that. And go ahead and scale it this way, something like that. So it's gonna cut a hole. And whoa, it's way gone. It's way over here. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna snap it to my side view here and kind of get the, oops, I rotated it. Go ahead and snap my view. Again, you hold Alt until the view snaps on its own. Okay, so I'm gonna create the center one first. It's gonna be somewhere around here. It's gonna be somewhere around here. It's gonna be scaled. It looks like it goes a little bit more than almost to the top, something like that. And it's gonna be a little bit fatter, so something like that, and kind of get it centered the way I want it. Okay, and I'm gonna create a duplicate of this thing and move it over here. The ones on the side are smaller in height, so I'm gonna kind of shrink down the height here. And now I'm kind of rotate, use perspective view here and kind of make sure that this thing is inside the water here. So it should be like something like that. Okay. So I'm obviously gonna need to thin it down a little bit. Kind of move it to the edge of the water there. Okay. So I'm gonna create another duplicate here and move it over here. And now I kind of want equal spacing if possible. So kind of move it around there. Move it around there. And looks like they're about equally spaced. Okay. And it looks like though I could probably move all three. So I'm gonna click on all three here. Just move it a little bit to the left, kind of get it centered here. I'm gonna kind of snap my view again. Oh, there's their moneymaker if I end up buying this thing. And here we go. So it looks like I got it kind of centered. I kind of got what I want. Now to cut the holes. Okay. So again, how the holes work is that you always have the thing that you want to cut on top. So I'm going to move this box on top of these three cylinders. And then I can just go ahead and use Shift to select all of these, or use Control if you want more precision. Control, make sure you have the box and the three cylinders selected. I'm going to go to Boolean and Boolean subtract. And that didn't work. Control Z. So what went wrong? Oh, I accidentally created a array. Okay, so make sure you don't click like I did. Somehow I end up clicking on array, Boolean subtract, and there we go. So now we have this Boolean subtract, and we have these holes. So I'm gonna do the top real quick. So the top, right, it's actually just two rails. So this thing is supposed to be kind of down, right? So I'm gonna go to edit geometry here. It's gonna make me bake it, which is fine. And I noticed now that if I want to create this rail, I don't have enough edge loops, right? I wanted to push this down and create edge loops, but it doesn't work because I didn't create enough subdivisions for my box. So how do we fix this? Well, we're gonna go and create a cut. So we're gonna go to cut and just kind of review how to use the cut tool. And I'm gonna kind of go use the top view here. I want to create a horizontal line that goes from here to here and a horizontal line that goes from here to here so I can extrude downward. So I'm just gonna go kind of like somewhere around here. And then I'm gonna try to have it nice and horizontal. So this looks like pretty horizontal to me. Left click. So I create a cut here. So I'm gonna do it again. Hotkey is C in case you're getting used to the hotkeys. Create another cut here. For Maya users, you're gonna use insert edge loop. I don't know what happened there. Oh, control Z redo. I'm gonna do another cut. I don't know why mine didn't make a cut there. So somewhere right there. Make sure it's horizontal. There we go. So now we have these two edge loops that we created, and it cuts all the way across. And now I can go ahead and go back to my perspective view, go to my face select, go ahead and select these faces, shift click, shift click, shift click. And now if I move down, it's not what I want. It creates like kind of a little tunnel here. I'm actually just going to go ahead and uh, use hold down shift to extrude downward. So remember, extrude downward creates faces. Okay. So now by holding shift downward, I created like these little, like a little place for them to walk. So I'm gonna kind of move it down a little bit more, something like that. Okay. But the problem is though, when you extrude, you do create faces. So I wanted these extra faces here and here, but I didn't want these faces here and here. So now I kind of have to manually come back here and delete these faces. So I'm gonna go click on this face, hit delete. There's a front and a back, so I'm gonna delete the back one too. Delete, click here, delete, click on this face over here. So I have these extra faces here. So delete, 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 click on the face, delete, and click on the face and hit delete. So I deleted those extra faces now, and um, looks like I don't have those faces there, but that's okay. It doesn't matter that I don't have the face right here. I don't need it. Actually, technically, I should delete that face too because that's not needed. But now that I have kind of like this place that people can walk on top of. And the last part that I'm going to show you guys is looking back at my sample here is I want to make these little holes. And it's actually looks like a lot of work, but it's actually not. So I'm just going to create a cube and another box. Oh, I create two of them, just one. So I'm going to go ahead and scale it way down. I'm going to move it way over here. Move it way over here. Move it way over here. All right, so I'm going to kind of create these holes. So so those windows are just holes. So I'm just going to go ahead and center it somewhere around here and scale it way down. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and make it skinnier. So the windows are more like that, more like that, more like that. Look at my reference real quick. Yeah, they're pretty small. And there's 9 of them. So I'm just gonna try to be precise as possible. Okay, and so I'm gonna go ahead and move it somewhere over here, shrink it down a little bit more this way. Okay, and make sure that on my side view that I am long enough. So for my side view, this thing is definitely not long enough. So go ahead and enlarge it, center it. And again, those holes don't really matter how long it is. So I'm gonna move it just where I want it right there. Okay. And let's go ahead and use array linear and create a whole bunch of these because I want to create 9 of them and I don't want to sit there and duplicate and make all 9. I can just simply go to over array linear, click on it, tell it that I want 9 copies. So if you see right here, it creates 5 copies and it's probably 5 copies like way over there. You can see it being made over there. So I'm going to go ahead and create 9 copies. I'm going to change this to 9. And I'm going to change the offset. So instead of offset going this way, because it's kind of going toward my camera, I want to offset it going, let's go this way. So look, I got 10, and that goes this way, the way that I want. So now I just got to shrink this thing. I'm using my wheel scroll, or I can just pop in a number if you want, and try to get 9 to place kind of where I want it. So again, if you want to move them, just go ahead and move the parent one, the one that was duplicated, and just go ahead and kind of center it somewhere like that, right? And I'm going to use my perspective view and make sure that I'm not cutting into the ground. It looks like I am cutting into the ground a little bit. So and the great part about these array linear is that if you change the parent, you end up changing oops, I created a duplicate by holding Alt. If you hold, just move it up, Shift. So again, you move all the children as well. So I'm gonna kind of move it up there. And what I want to make sure is that I'm not cutting a hole into the ground. Looks like I can go a little bit less short, a little bit shorter. Something like that. Something like that. Maybe even a little bit shorter. Because again, I don't want to cut a hole into the ground. Wow, even shorter. Let's go ahead and shorten it up a little bit more. Maybe I want to make it a little bit skinnier. Okay, and then move it up a little bit. Yeah. So it looks like I gotta shorten it just a tad bit more. Probably want to make it a little skinnier. Here we go. So I just want to make sure that these things were not inside the ground because then you'll see like the ground when you cut these holes. So again, how do we cut the hole? We go and click on the thing that you want to cut and make sure it's on top of the thing that you're going to cut with. So basically I'm going to take this box and this array linear, shift click it, go to Boolean subtract, and voila, you have all the holes cut equally spaced out and nice. And although maybe I should have made it a little bit lower because now it looks like it's too close to the top. I'm going to go ahead and Control Z just because I'm like that. Let's go ahead and click on the box, move it down a little bit so that there's a little bit more thickness. There you go. Now I'm going to go back here, shift click this, and go ahead and use Boolean subtract. And now I have these nice holes for my bridge. And there you have it, folks. There's my bridge. Um, you can go ahead and put a material on it if you like. If you go to library, go to materials, or go to collections. Maybe you want to do some, I don't know, concrete, and just go ahead and put some concrete onto here. And it makes it look like a brick. Oh, I didn't actually combine the object yet, so I'm actually Control Z that. Let's go ahead and do some cleanup. So now that I have like this tower, this middle bridge, and this tower, let's go ahead and take all these things and put them together. So I'm going to hold Control and hold Control, select on the two cylinders and the bridge, and go to Boolean Union. And where to go? Oh, that didn't work. All right, let's try that again. So I have the cylinder, and the bridge. Sometimes these tools don't always do what you think they do. They should be Boolean Union. Okay, and now it's all nice in one piece. And I think I like the way it looks. I'm going to go ahead and convert to geometry. It cleans it all up. Let's go ahead and rename this thing bridge. And now we have a nice bridge that we created from scratch. So there you have it, folks. Um, Again, I'm going to give you guys 2 days to do this, today and tomorrow. Your bridge does not have to be like mine. It could be much more simpler. But what I do want to see is that you're using things like Boolean subtract, Boolean union, combining different shapes. I don't want to see just two cylinders in a box. Okay, just put in some work. Okay, I want to see is that you're putting in the work and you're showing some technique. Okay, that's all I want to see. See you guys.